Whether it's a hot time in Florida or a rainy night in Georgia,
living for trouble.
It's the perfect time for the TCBCast, an unofficial Elvis fan podcast.
Oh, yes, sir. Good to see you. Go, folks. This black fix bring you the hottest thing in the country, real hot and blue, coming to WHB in Memphis, Tennessee.
With your hosts, Justin Gosman and Gurdip Ladar. The TCBcast is on the air.
Welcome to TCBcast, an unofficial Elvis Presley fan podcast. I'm Justin Gosman.
And I'm Gurdip Ladar.
Gurdip, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing good. You have a busy week, don't you?
I had a very busy week this past week. It was opening night, opening weekend for the play.
Very good.
Yeah, no, it went pretty well. Audience seemed to really enjoy it. Went off pretty much without a hitch in terms of the performances and the tech side of things. And
you were cracking heads if they didn't perform well?
Yeah, well, I really left that up more to my assistant director. That I gave that to his job.
Oh, okay.
Made that his job.
Yeah.
So what all have you been up to? It's been a hot second since we've done an episode, but
it has been a while.
I'm happy to be back. I was itching to get back.
Me too. It's been a while. Very, very long time.
In fact, I was talking on our Facebook page with some of our listeners and I was ranting about some stuff related to one of our news items this week, and I was like, yeah, I can definitely tell that I haven't had my fix yet.
You need to vent.
I do need to vent. So, but before we get into the that news about the '69 box set, what has there been any other news that you've seen
personally or Elvis wise or what?
Yeah, Elvis wise.
Elvis wise, nothing. I mean,
nothing
besides the big news that we're gonna talk about.
Yes.
For me, it's really been no Elvis past 2 weeks, unless of course it was to research our show or like listening to music in the car. But besides that, zero. I've been busy with ending of kids' activities like hockey and ballet and all that. So I've been just busy in domestic bliss. I checked out Toy Story. Anybody who wants to watch it, it's pretty good.
Nice.
I don't think I need to see any more Toy Story movies. I think they covered it. But yeah, also checked out Murder Mystery on Netflix. Adam Sandler film. I mean, it's one of those stupid, comedy types. So
yeah,
if anybody wants to check that, it'll pass an hour and a half for you.
Interesting.
How about you? Besides the play, anything else going on?
I did one before we dive into the other news item. We did get a couple bits of listener feedback on our YouTube videos of our show, and
really?
From someone.
And Never heard this.
Yeah, and I just wanted to read one of their comments. They go under the handle LMS Hackers, and it says, "I've been listening. I've been listening to you guys for a while now, all the way in Australia. I listen every day. Currently listening to episode 53. I love your reviews and appreciate the time you take to research your shows, especially the fact that you have your day jobs to focus on. I'm a teacher." And then in parentheses, he or she says, "I think I remember Gurdip saying he was also a teacher, but that's your wife, isn't it?"
That's my wife. She teaches grade 1. Yep. Soon to be kindergarten. Why she would want to go to kindergarten, I don't know, but she likes kids. Me, if I had to teach kindergartens, I'd probably just strangle myself. I mean, think about it. They're just coming right out of, either preschool or straight from home.
Yeah.
But that was her goal from like when she wanted to be a teacher, is to be a kindergarten teacher. So
those formative
anyway,
years.
go on. Hacker, while he's wrestling alligators, he's typing this out.
Yeah. So I know how hard it is to get anything else done. However, when it comes to Elvis, it's pretty easy. Keep up the great work, Justin and Gurdip, and your other co-hosts/guests. You guys are really Gonzville.
Nice. Bringing that back, aren't we?
We are. We're bringing it back. It's going to be a thing. So thank you, LMS Hackers, for your very kind comment on our YouTube video. The big news really was that we saw some promo artwork leak for the new box set that's coming out later this year, the 1969 Live at the International Hotel box set. It's going to be 11 CDs, a 52-page book. And what did you get a chance to look at this? I
looked at it. That little image that they displayed, probably everybody's seen. One hand, I'm like, do we need the same show over and over again with very little difference?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it is a 69 Elvis concert, which is, excellent.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like kind of, I don't know. I do like the fact this is coming out. I don't like the price because it is quite pricey.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the number
for a completist, maybe you want to have this.
The number that's being bandied about is $160.
Now, did they price you out, or do you think you'll get it?
Oh, they've definitely priced me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, I'm sure like the That's the Way It Is set, I'll listen to it digitally.
You think it'll be on like Spotify or whatever? Apple?
Oh, of course it will. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a mainstream legacy release. It'll come out digitally. If That's the Way It Is, their deluxe version came out, this will as well. So
yeah. So the only reason really to purchase it is if you want like the whole box and then you want the book that comes with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had posted, I don't know if you saw this, on the the Facebook page, I posted a little meme of Elvis looking very glum. And I was like, Justin, when Sony puts out a $160 11 CD Vegas 69 set instead of an 11 CD American Sound box set. And
you want to complete an American box set.
I would adore that. There's so much
now,
more
would you purchase that?
I probably would, because here's the thing. Like you said, the shows, by and large, have the same track list in 69.
It does.
It doesn't matter that, each show is its own unique performance, and certainly there are elements that are excellent in every single show. But ideally, you're not going to listen to those things back to back to back. There's not a whole lot to garner in terms of insight from that, because it's all from the same engagement. It's not even like you can really see a progression, so to speak.
And add to that, a lot of the shows have already been available.
Right. That's the other thing, is some of them have appeared on FTDs. Some of them have appeared on kind of mainstream releases. There's, I think, one complete previously unreleased shows, and then there's other ones where it's just like now for the first time it's the complete show, as opposed to just being kind of put out there piecemeal on other sets. But I'm not as keen on this. I really think when you look at the
you sound defeated.
When you look at the RCA albums collection, which was $300 when it came out, and I put down for that because it had 60 CDs. It was essentially the entire master, so you've got a wide variety of stuff. It has a very lengthy hardcover book. And
how much was that again? Sorry,
it came out at $300. I think I got it on a deal for $270. So I got it for like 10% off.
That was a investment.
It was an investment, but it was because the reason why I justified that was for me, like, I was never able to afford the actual complete master set when that came out, because it was like $1,000 or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, content wise, this is largely similar. It's not in, strictly speaking, chronological order, but it is a very well done compilation of 60 of the albums, 57 of the albums that came out in his lifetime, plus bonus tracks, plus 3 from the vaults, in as good a quality as they're going to be. And my collection had always been kind of hodgepodge, like some MP3s from these CDs that I've ripped, some from these CDs that I've ripped. And so it was like, okay, so I'm going to not throw away, but like, these will be my go-to recordings for these albums and for a lot of these tracks. Now, some of them I'll keep around, like Elvis' Son, The Boy from Tupelo, and I go back to those, but I don't find myself now going back to any other earlier versions of those albums that I've had before, because I have them now from that one compilation, that one collection, that one box set. And with the 69 stuff, I don't think I would really ever see myself going to those shows all that often. And for that, I mean, that 160, that's over half the price of the RCA albums collection, which I will remind you was 60 CDs versus 11 and a book.
Yeah. We're saying 160. That's American. Other places is going to be over 200.
Right. Yeah. No, this is. I just, to me, looking at the albums collection, and even though the fact that I got it at a slight discount off Amazon, even if you bought it at full price, like, you still got so much more out of that than you would be getting from this. I can't justify this, and especially with the set list duplication. I would much prefer a 69 session set but that's just my take. I know that there are people that like shows, that are into collecting the shows, want to get them as complete as possible, and
listen to them back to back.
Yeah, listen to them back to back, and that's fine. You do you, but I don't think I'm gonna throw down on this one at all.
You know what you could do, because they're like midnight shows and dinner shows. You can listen to them during dinner and then at midnight, and then pretend you're actually there.
I mean, I guess you could. I don't know.
That'd be great.
I think that would be too much effort.
But yeah, I'm like you. I'll probably just stream it. If it's like if it comes online very cheap, I'll probably pick it up.
Yeah.
But I don't see myself purchasing it right away. Maybe in the future we can do a show about it. When we both of us listen to some of the shows.
Yeah,
maybe,
no.
kinda.
If it gets released digitally, like I expect that it will, I would love to sit down and listen to and review the content, audio wise, if not necessarily the book, since obviously you'd have to get the physical one. But yeah,
unless someone wants to send it to us. Hint, hint. Anyone from EPE? Anyone listening out there in Radioland? We hear crickets.
So anyway, yeah. So let's see. What else? What else do we got?
Any other news? I have zero news.
That was it. That was all that I had for news this week.
Besides an anniversary coming up that we're going to be covering today.
Yes, which we're actually a little late on. Was
it last week?
Yeah, it was on. It was June 17th. Was the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of the From Elvis and Memphis album.
Right.
But first off, let's do trivia.
Oh no!
I know you almost got out of it again, Gurdip. Okay, so I've got a handful of questions here for you, and they're not necessarily themed around anything specific. I'm just throwing them down. We'll see what happens.
Nothing like to start off a podcast by reminding me how little I know.
No, it's all good. Okay, so the first question actually is the only question that's relevant to the topic at hand today, but it's what country singer played on the American Sessions as a session musician and would later go on to cover Any Day Now?
Now I know the names, but I can't think of who the country singer would be. I probably know it, I just can't think of it right now.
Okay.
Tell me.
Do you want a hint?
No, just tell me.
Okay, so I'll give you a hint. He is blind.
He's blind?
Yes.
Oh. Well, when you say blind, right away I think of Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles. Unless they were on there, I don't know.
Nope. It was country musician Ronnie Millsap.
Oh, to my sad surprise, then the blue shadows will fall all over town. Oh, any day now.
I knew that. I just couldn't think.
Okay, so next question, not quite a musical related question, but what is the real name of Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker?
Oh, Andreas von Kopp.
Yes.
Whatever you say. Isn't there another? Is it Cornelius or no?
Yeah, is his middle name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just the first name and last name was fine. So, yep. See, I'm throwing not as easy as last week's.
You know what's weird?
You.
That was a question that I was going to ask you like weeks ago, but I figured you already know it, so I was like,
You know, you never know. Could have.
Did you know it though?
No, I knew that. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You proved my point. Go on.
All right. Elvis is known by several different nicknames throughout his career.
Elvis the Pelvis.
Including Elvis the Pelvis.
Did I get it right?
The King. What were two other nicknames that he was called early in his career in the 50s, especially in promotional materials?
The Hillbilly Cat, Memphis Flash.
That is two of them. Another one that would have been acceptable is the Atomic Powered Singer.
There you
go. When did he get the King? Did we ever establish when that came about?
Yeah, I don't know. When was he officially crowned the king?
He wasn't officially crowned the king. People just started calling him that. You and I are going to go around on this. I don't know. It does make me wonder, though, because
Like, when was the very first instant that, you heard a reference to him being the king of rock and roll?
I don't know. That might be something we have to dig into.
If anybody knows, because what do you think? I'm picturing, like, in the late 60s, maybe, when he came back. I don't think anyone would have said anything like in the 50s and 60s.
That seems a little...
And it's not posthumously, because he did know about it.
He certainly referred to it. I mean, there's even a concert recording where someone calls him the king, and he like downplays it, and he's just like, "No, I am not the king." Yeah. And there was a press conference where it was actually in 1969 in Vegas, where they were like, "What do you think of people that call you the king of rock and roll?" And he's like, "I'm not the king of rock and roll. If anybody's the king of rock and roll, it's Fats Domino."
Right.
So, I don't know.
Okay.
Weird.
Interesting.
Okay. And then the last question that I had was Elvis won 3 Grammys in his lifetime. What were they won for?
The gospel album?
Which specifically?
The How Great Thou Art?
Yep.
What do you mean? What other ones? Oh,
yeah.
The He Touched Me?
Yep.
And was there one more?
There was one more. There was 3.
Was it for an album?
No.
Oh.
It was for a single recording.
I can't remember this last one. It wasn't like Crying in the Chapel, was it?
Nope.
Okay, what was it?
It was for How Great Thou Art, the recording from Elvis recorded live in Memphis.
Oh, okay.
So it was the live version from that album.
I can't even remember how that was compared to the studio version.
The thing about that one that makes it so interesting is that, much like he did in all of his shows at that time, he goes back through at the end and does almost like an encore of the ending of the song.
Right.
Which, I mean, it's a very impassioned performance, and I certainly understand why people really, really love that song.
Then sing to my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
But yeah, those are the three Grammys that Elvis won. So
I got 2 out of 3.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Not too bad.
Right.
That was
not
it.
my wheelhouse.
Okay, so we're moving on to our covering the 50th anniversary of Elvis in Memphis, the 1969 album. Because, like I said, it's been 50 years. I figured we would, and this won't be quite like the session.
No, we're going to talk about the album itself, right? Not the sessions.
Yeah. Like we just walked into the record store last week and bought it, and like now we're doing our little review for it.
You like walk up to me like, "Hey, have you heard the latest Ronnie Millsap?" And I punched you in the face and said, "No, check out From Elvis in Memphis." You wiped your chin and said, "Hey, this is pretty good."
Nice. But did we want to provide some context to where this fell in Elvis's career? And we can talk a little bit about Elvis's, we can talk a little bit about the sessions, just because it was a very different situation for Elvis in terms of where he was recording, who was producing. So fill us in a little bit, Gurdip. In 1969, this is like January 1969, just hot off the success of the 1968 comeback special, which had aired in December. What's Elvis up to?
Well, first off, they were already planning the Vegas engagement, the one that we were just talking about.
Yep.
Before this, and they wanted, they wanted to record not in Nashville because I guess Elvis was getting tired of that.
He'd been recording there for years with the movies.
Was it Marty Lacker and George Klein?
Yep.
They both had connections to Chips Moman, who started American in Memphis.
Yep.
And they urged him to record there. I think Red West also had some kind of connection to Chips Moman as well. He might have known some of the Memphis boys, the musicians at American. But American Sound Studios, they started in Memphis because initially Chips was a part of Stax, isn't he?
I believe so, yes.
And he had started it, and then I guess he somehow got ushered out, so he started American Sound Studios. And was he from Memphis? I can't remember that.
I don't have the bio on him at
well,
the moment.
It didn't take much to convince, because they were considered hit makers, and they had worked with many, many artists.
Yeah, Dusty Springfield in particular. Her album was huge. And then Neil Diamond.
Dionne Warwick.
Yep, Dionne Warwick. Like I said, Neil Diamond was another. And, of course, my boy Roy Hamilton.
Yeah, well, yeah, those were actually before. Neil Diamond actually had to change his session because Elvis was going to come in. And Chips was all over getting Elvis to perform there.
Well, not only just Elvis, but that sweet, sweet RCA money.
Exactly. I think it was like $25,000 for to renting it.
Yeah.
Well,
and that was
go ahead.
Well, and that was the thing too, was that the way that Chips kind of viewed it was, he was hired to do a job, and that was to be producer. And there was certainly, and we'll get into this a little bit probably tonight in this episode, but certainly when we get further down the line and really dig into these sessions, there was a lot of dynamics between Felton Jarvis and Chips Moman in terms of conflict of who had control over the sessions.
Right.
Because essentially what it had always been for years up to this point was that Elvis was kind of his own producer, so to speak. Felton Jarvis ran the sessions, but he didn't really direct Elvis any certain way. There was not usually any sort of constructive or negative feedback provided to Elvis, and Chips apparently had been warned, according to Peter Guralnick's book Careless Love. He had basically been warned straight up, just like, you will not, tell Elvis to take another take. You won't tell him when he's flat. And Chips was just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
I mean, think about it. What kind of BS is that? That's, like, dumb. It's not like Elvis had these hits that were coming in.
Right.
I mean, he needed a change.
Right. And yes, I mean, he had the 68 special, but the only reason that went the direction it did was because of Steve Bender and his team.
Yep.
So there was definitely some hesitation on the end of the Memphis Mafia, the RCA guys, Freddie Beanstalk, Felton Jarvis. They weren't sure how to get a read on the musicians and Chips, because obviously he had been working with the Memphis boys for quite some time, those session players, and knew them in and out. And they were just as equally hesitant about working with kind of the yes men that were surrounding Elvis. But once Elvis got in there, they realized that he was really serious about doing a good job in these sessions.
Yeah. I mean, imagine being surrounded by yes men, like, in the studio, and then also when you're just walking around the Memphis Mafia, and just a bunch of sycophants who all want to please you. It's like, I would go crazy. It's horrible.
There's an anecdote in that same chapter in Peter Guralnick's book where one of the Memphis boys is talking about how Elvis came in and he got a cigar out.
Yeah,
he got a cigar out, and then like three guys were suddenly there with lighters, and it's like, really? But it just goes to show, like, the world that Elvis had built around himself, and Chips was coming in and trying to break through that filter around Elvis and really get something interesting and modern and creative. When the end result of those sessions were 2 albums and several singles, but this was the first LP that came out of that from Elvis in Memphis, and this was released June 17th, 1969. And
Great
so,
cover.
Yeah, so you wanted to talk about the cover.
Well, no, the cover is excellent. It's from the 68 special with, Elvis in his, was it some kind of a satiny type of black shirt? And and the red background and stuff.
Yep, and he's got that ascot, that red ascot.
Yeah, the ascot. That looks good. But if you flip the album, there's like a picture of Elvis from the mid '60s. Was it Viva Las Vegas era?
Yes.
I'm like, seriously, what dumbass picked this? It's like we're trying to introduce a new Elvis. The front shows a new Elvis, but then someone just slapped on a picture of just a random picture, publicity still of Elvis from the mid '60s, smiling, not looking cool at all. And it's like, why would you design this? I still don't understand the people who design these album covers. It's just the worst graphic design artists ever worked on Elvis albums.
That's pretty bad.
It's nothing to them. It's no design, nothing, no thought put into it, just randomness. It's just crazy to think about. I was like, is this really the back cover? Is this a misprint?
Yeah, and this is before the heyday of the white jumpsuit on the black background. What's interesting?
What did you think of the back cover? When you first saw it, you're like, well, you must have had some kind of opinion.
I mean, it's clear that it's from an earlier point in his career. Physically, if you even just compare the front photo to the back photo, Elvis looks leaner. He looks more muscular.
Dangerous.
He looks dangerous, on that front cover. And then on the back, he looks. I mean, it's 1964, 1965. This might even be from Girl Happy or Viva Las Vegas.
It looks like he just came out of Sunday church session, and he's just having a picnic now. And
he looks bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, someone you could take to your parents. This is my boyfriend.
And it's interesting too that when you look at the LP, there's not a credit for who is playing on it, who is producing it.
That was an issue for Chips. He hated that. Him and Felton got had heated moments, I heard, between them because of that. Because the Colonel said nobody produces my boy.
Yeah.
Elvis produces himself.
So in lieu of proper album credits, what you get is it says on the backside, it says from Elvis in Memphis. It's got the track list, and then it's got a promo for the NBC album for the TV special, and that's pretty much all there is to it. There's not a whole lot there. There was an insert released at the time. This was actually in the RCA albums collection that I reviewed on Blue Suede Reviews. The interesting about that set too was that it had all these bonus features of all the little inserts and stuff that they would drop in. Sometimes it would be photos, sometimes it would be I think there were stickers in one of them, or they're stickers you could put on the album covers themselves. But yeah, there was an insert at the time.
Oh yeah, stickers that they would have on the cellophane.
Yeah. But anyway, so point being, this is what you would have picked up at the store in 1969. And you take it home and you throw it on the record player, and what you get is something very different from what Elvis has been putting out. Even if you knew at the time and were following Elvis so closely that you knew that chronologically stuff like Guitar Man and Big Boss Man and U.S. Mail had come in, in the lead up to the '68 special. This is even different from that.
I think this was a good idea, especially because there was a lot of interest in Elvis around this time because of that '68 special, and someone who's maybe was a fan, got turned off by the films.
Yeah,
and then,
had been a fan.
And then this special came out, and they're like, maybe I'll give Elvis another try. And then this is the next album they see. Or if it's a new fan who got interested from that special, and they're like, let me check out what Elvis has to offer. This is a great album to be the introduction or reintroduction of Elvis.
Yep, absolutely. So before we get underway going through the tracks themselves, I wanted to ask if there was anything that you had taken note of that I had, because I've reviewed this album before, like I had mentioned in my YouTube series Blue Suede Reviews, where I had gone through that RCA albums collection, and I just pulled one paragraph of transcript from that just to read kind of what I had said back then, but basically I said,
how old was that?
This was 3 years ago.
Okay, so this is 3 years
2016.
ago, Justin, a younger bushy-eyed, bushy-tailed, bright-eyed Justin Gosman.
What I said about, and this was actually almost more about Chip's producing, but I said no other producer except maybe Sam Phillips ever challenged Elvis, and I would argue that Sam didn't really challenge Elvis so much as give him encouragement and the blank slate to lay out everything that he knew as far as his influences and inspiration. So whereas Sam would let Elvis go for hours and hours doing ballads in hopes of getting a That's All Right or Good Rockin' Tonight, Chips pushed Elvis to do something that was modern at the time. And these songs, you could have any artist record them today in these same arrangements and they would sound just as relevant as they were then. It's probably the best album of his career. It's certainly one of the most cohesive.
I would argue that Chips had the harder job. You're dealing with an artist who actually was at the top of the world, knew what he could do, and then you got to criticize him as opposed to Sam Phillips, who had somebody who's new and didn't know a lot what they were doing.
Very true.
It's easier to direct somebody like that, and it's harder to direct people who have actually been to the top and went down, but then was coming up again. So
yeah, absolutely. So where was the first time that you heard the album as a whole?
It would be the very first time I bought the tape, which would have been probably 88, 89, 90, in that time period, probably in the 80s as opposed to 1990.
Okay.
And this was a time when I had already was purchasing concerts like from Elvis. What's the one in Memphis, I think? The
sequel to this?
No, what's the concert one that takes place in Memphis?
Oh, Elvis Recorded Live in Memphis.
Yeah, I had already bought that.
Which is the most generic sounding title.
And I had bought the Madison Square Garden one. And I thought I didn't know, but I thought maybe this was just another out concert. And then when I put it in, because I didn't know much about, I didn't research the back stuff. Backstory of, I didn't know that this was done in American Sound Studios. I didn't know nothing. But as soon as I put it on, I was like, hey, this sounds good. And then go through all the songs. Some of them, as we're going to discuss, they didn't catch my fancy that early on. Mm-hmm. And I got to discover them and enjoy them later. But overall, this was one of the strongest albums that I picked up.
Yeah.
And one that I would usually let play all the way through. And that was rare because I usually didn't do that. What I would do is I would take the songs I like and make my own tape of it. I used to have that 2-tape deck thing, and I would just pull songs that I like. This is back in the day.
Been
kids,
there, done that. Yep.
Yeah. So
Mixed
what about
tapes,
you? When was the first time you bought this, or was it that 60 CD set?
So I had the vinyl before I got that set, but
you had the vinyl.
But caveat, I first listened to all of the songs from this on the Ryan and I had talked about a few episodes ago, the anthology set called Suspicious Minds, the 1969 American Anthology or something like that. It was a 2 CD set that came out in the early 2000s or late 90s, one of the two. It was around that time. But that was where I heard all the songs, but the layout of the tracks was vastly different. And obviously it also included a handful of outtakes and all of the Back in Memphis and single tracks as well. So my first experience hearing all these songs was a totally different context. But when I got the LP, which would have been sometime in the late 2000s, I want to say 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. That was, I picked up the vinyl and absolutely fell in love with this album as it is. This is one that I can listen to straight through every single time. I to the point where there's, I don't know if you've had this experience, but there are certain albums that you can listen to so many times that every time you hear a song from that, you always expect that the next song will play after that.
100%. I always have that. I even have that with like mixtapes that I make myself.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, this should be coming after, but it isn't. What's one that always follows each other? It's Little Sister and His Latest Flame. They're always paired together for some reason.
Yeah. No, for me, it's always Power of My Love and Gentle on My mind. Like the ending of Power of My Love and the beginning of Gentle on My mind are
eternally locked together.
Yes, for me they are. But this is So I will say it here. I've said it before, but I'll lay it out in front. I think this is hands down Elvis's best album.
That's a bold statement. There's two ways of looking at it. One is your own personal taste.
Right.
And if you were to say this is your favorite album, I can get that. I wouldn't say this is my favorite album, but
this isn't my favorite album. That's the caveat.
Oh, okay. This is not. You think this is Elvis's best album?
Hands down, you could put it in front of
Not
someone
your
today.
favorite, but
it would work.
I wouldn't. I would go with Elvis's Back. And I would even go with Back in Memphis before this one.
Okay. So Back in Memphis is
I think it has too many country tracks on it. That's my problem with this album. You're going to put off a lot of people with those country tracks. We will get it.
I don't think you will. I don't think you will. I think that these are country songs that are not performed country.
Some are country songs not performed country, but some are performed country.
Right, but that's the Elvis experience. Like, that's Elvis in a nutshell. Like, you have to take the country with the soul, the rock, the blues.
If you tell an average person what is Elvis known for, they're going to say rock. And then when you present this to them, they'll be like, well, wait a second, I don't want a country album. And I'm talking about the general public here, not like people who know Elvis.
I don't know.
No, isn't that what he's known for? Rock? If you ask the average person,
I don't know. It's hard to say now, because certainly Elvis is known, and 20 years ago I would have said absolutely, but I think that Elvis is certainly known for his early rock and roll stuff. But if you ask someone about Elvis's later stuff, I don't know necessarily that people would classify "Suspicious Minds" as a rock and roll song anymore. Rock and roll as a genre has shifted so far.
People just randomly and say, what type of music is Elvis known for? I make you a bet. A vast majority, 99%, are going to say rock.
No, certainly, because they call him the king of rock and roll. You're not going to get me to dispute that in terms of...
That's what I'm saying. So, if you were like, there's one album I want you to listen to, and you put this on, they'll be like, well, wait a sec. Why is there country music here? And they might not even be a fan. Like, when you give it to them, they'll have a preconceived notion of, I'm going to hear a rock album or R&B, whatever iteration of rock that there is. But then when we get to the country tracks, they'll be like, well, wait a second. This is not what I signed up for.
I doubt that. I very much do. Because, again, these songs are... Even the most country of the country songs are not performed that country.
I'll give you that, but there are a few.
So let's go ahead and
let's do it before we start getting into blows.
Yeah. We'll come to blows by the end. So the song opens with "Wearing That Loved On Look," which is written by Dallas Frazier and Al Owens, and was essentially a new song for Elvis. No one else had done it before him.
I had to leave town for a little while. You said you'd be good while I'm gone. But the look in your eye done told me you told a lie. I know there's been some carrying on. Baby, wearing that love don't look. Shoot. Baby, you're wearing that.
Frazier would later go on to write "There Goes My Everything," which Elvis would cover, and then the Oak Ridge Boys song "Elvira."
Which I like.
What's your take on "Wearing That Loved On Look"?
What a great opening track! This is like an introduction to a newer, different Elvis. It's like more current, not what we've been hearing in the soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
That bass guitar is awesome, so groovy, and then the roughness of Elvis's voice, because apparently he had a cold.
Yes.
When he was recording these songs, it really adds to the overall effect. In some parts, like he's shouting, so he means this.
Yeah, that was my note. I was like, Elvis has a ferocity that he tears into this song with. I really like you listen to the background singers, and they're doing this soul gospel thing, and then there's like that organ break in the middle of the song where it just like breaks down, and it's like Oh, we're going to church now. This is you could not start an album off more strongly than with Wearing That Love Down Look. I don't know if you've heard the demo that's on Writing with the King, that Dallas Frazier did. It's pretty clean cut.
Yeah. It's not great.
You can see where they would eventually take it. Like the basic structure is there. There's bones, but the meat's not on the bones yet.
I had to leave town for a little while. You said you'd be good while I was gone. But the look in your eye done told me you told a lie. I know there's been some carrying on. Baby, you're wearing that love on cheap.
The demo is like the skeleton, the instrumentation and the backing vocals and everything, that's the meat, and Elvis is the lion biting and tearing into the meat.
There you go.
Yeah.
I can picture that right now.
This is great. And then we follow into Only the Strong Survive, which was a Jerry Butler song he had recorded. And I've heard even like on the radio today still pops up from time to time. It was like a top 10 hit for Jerry.
I remember my first love affair. Somehow or another, the whole darn thing went wrong. But my mama had some great advice, so I thought I'd put it in the words of this song. I can still hear her saying, boy, I see you sitting out there all alone, crying your eyes out, 'cause the woman that you love is gone. Oh, there's gonna be a whole lot of trouble in your life. Oh, so listen to me, get up off of your knees, 'cause only the strong survive. That's what she said, only the strong survive.
But Elvis's version is pretty faithful to that. What do you think of Only the Strong Survive?
So this was interesting because I was actually familiar with Jerry Butler's original from '68.
Yeah.
I had a compilation tape before I bought this because I really liked his 1958 song For Your Precious Love.
Yeah.
And this was, part of that. So I was totally familiar with that song as opposed to other songs, which, Elvis is the first time I heard them. But I do like that, I like Jerry Butler's version because he has a very low, heavy voice.
Yeah.
Which is commanding. But it's weird. I don't have a preference of which version I like.
That was the interesting too. I actually took a note that was very similar where I just said they're really close. Like even though they're both doing kind of soul vocals, I can't even argue that Jerry he might just ever so slightly edge Elvis out, but only because it's on his song. It's just as funky. It's just as fun in terms of Elvis playing around with the kind of sassy mother figure that's given this boy this advice.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
for me it's a toss up. I mean, Elvis is slightly faster.
Yeah,
and Elvis puts a lot of motion into that. It's essentially a soul song, which Elvis pulls off brilliantly.
Yeah. So as we're going through this, would you let's just go through the genres on these? You would define this as a soul song, right?
There's a lot of soul on the whole album.
Absolutely. And then Wearing That Love Down Look, what would you say that would be classified as? Rock,
R&B.
Rock R&B. Okay. I'm just taking a tally. Okay. I would agree with those. I would agree with those classifications. Not that, we'll get there. But no, this is a very excellent version of this song, and it's a relatively contemporary song to when this album came out. Like, it was only, I think, the year before that Jerry's had come out.
Yeah. Another thing is, he has female vocalists accompanying him as opposed to the Jordanaires. Who were the female accompanists? Do you remember offhand? Like, they were added later, weren't they?
Yes, they were. All of the outtakes that if you go and listen to the FTDs, it's just the rhythm section. There's no strings, there's no brass. It's all overdubbed much, much, much later.
Oh, you gotta be a man, you gotta take a stand. Only the strong survive. Only the strong survive.
They add a lot. It's like a different vibe.
So there was Millie Kirkham, Dolores Edgin, Herschel Wingington, Sonja Montgomery, Joe Babcock are some of the ones listed on the March 25th overdub session. There's also on the May 6th session, Jeannie Green, Donna Thatcher, Mary Holiday, Susan Pilkington.
So there was a bunch of different. I wonder why. I wonder if it was a creative decision to have females accompanying Elvis as opposed to male vocalists.
Oh, it has to have been, because Elvis had, by and large, been backed by male vocalists for most of his career. Like, certainly, Millie had been on recordings before.
Yeah,
and,
like Blue Christmas.
Yeah, but he had not had complete whole female backing groups behind him, other than the '68 special, where it was the Blossoms on the gospel section. But I think
maybe they like that. They like that sound a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then this would carry over, obviously, with Rubberneck into Change of Habit, and then that would lead into Elvis hiring the Sweet Inspirations to back him in Vegas.
Mm.
So this is definitely like right smack in the middle of that progression of Elvis changing his sound. Track 3 on side A is I'll Hold You in My Heart, which was more famously known by Eddie Arnold.
Right.
I said I'll hold. I said I'll hold. I said I'll hold you in my heart till I can hold you in my heart like you never been held before.
So this is definitely, for you would classify this as a country song.
Oh, this is where the album kind of takes a slight downturn for me. I mean, wouldn't you know it's a country song? But don't get me wrong. Elvis sings the hell out of this song. When he gets to this higher register, it really starts to cook, and he sounds excellent. He makes it more than country, infuses a bit of soul and rhythm into it.
It's blues. It's a blues song.
Is it the way he makes it?
Yes.
I mean, as it goes on, it gets better and better.
Yeah, it's a blues country song. Well, and we have to remember too, this is a one-off. This was a essentially a jam session song. This wasn't even intended to be on the album. This was done in one take.
Right. I have more problem with the intro, the way it sounds, and the way it starts, as opposed to how the middle and the end.
Yeah.
So it's one of those songs that the intro kind of turns me off, but then it gets better. You just got to sit there and listen to it. Have you heard Dean Martin's version?
I haven't.
I think Elvis takes a lot of cues from Dino than he did to Eddie Arnold.
I feel so blue when I'm away from you. I'll hold you in my heart. You know the stars up in the sky. You know they know the reason why.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question about it. I did go back and listen to the Eddie Arnold one for this.
Right.
I mean, Eddie Arnold's is, clean cut, on the beat. There's no, it is as conventional country as you can get. for the late 1940s.
I'll hold you in my heart till I can hold you in my arms. So darling, please wait for me.
I'll have to go revisit Dean Martin's version. Because
and you like this though? You like this song?
No, I do. I like you have always found this a little rough around the edges, but that to me is part of the appeal of it. Is that it feels so loose and limber. I mean, I like it.
Okay, good.
So yeah,
let's move on.
Them long black limousine.
When you left, you know you told me that someday you'd be returning in a fancy car, all the town to see. Oh yeah. Well, now everyone is watching you. You finally had your dream.
What an upbeat, sad song.
Right? The thing about this song is that it... I don't think the producers have ever really known, like, of any version of this song that's ever been done, has ever really known what to do with it.
Right.
Because if you go back and you listen to the songwriter Vern Stovall did a version in 1961.
I watch as you ride by with the chauffeur at the wheel, dressed up so fine. I'll never love another. My heart and all my dreams are with you in that long black limousine.
The Vern Stoffels country, though.
Yeah, no, his is definitely country. Well, and that's the thing too, is that this song is written as a country song, but
right.
Elvis takes it and injects again soul and gospel
R&B.
and R&B into it.
This is how you do country.
This is how you translate country music.
This is how you do country.
And if you compare this with Glenn Campbell's, like, it is night and day in terms of how...
He sings the hell out of this song.
Yeah, yeah.
His voice is powerful yet sincere. Keeps you mesmerized with his heartbreaking story that he's telling.
Yeah, it's like a funeral dirge for this girl.
It is. I think it's underrated. Not a lot of people know this song.
Yeah. No, this is one of the greats in terms of, kind of a gem. So how would you classify this, though? Because Elvis certainly exceeds country on this. Like, this is not nearly, especially when you compare with the earlier versions that are country, by and large. How would you classify this?
I classify this as R&B soul.
R&B soul.
He takes a country song and he makes it his own.
Mm-hmm.
He changes it up, which is what I like about Elvis, is what he does to certain songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Next track on the album is It Keeps Right On A Hurtin', which was originally written and recorded by Johnny Tillotson in 1962.
It keeps right on a hurtin' every minute of the day. Every hour you're away, I feel so lonely, and I can't help it. I don't think I can go home, and it keeps right on a hurtin' since you go.
Had you heard of Johnny Tillotson before this?
I think I might have.
So he was
reading 50s books.
Yeah, he was, from what I understand, kind of like a country heartthrob.
Really?
Yeah, like he kind of had this teeny bopper, teen idol look to him. And he found more success in country. Like he certainly tried to do some R&B and pop and doo-woppy type songs, but then he found better success in the country field with It Keeps Right On A-Hurtin'. And if you actually go look at the album cover that this initially appeared on, like, right. I mean, he looks like straight out of like, you know, like your Bobby Vinton, Pat Boone, in that vein. And
Fabian, Dion.
Yeah, when you go and listen to the recording, it's almost cutesy, like the way that he delivers it. The way that I would describe his take on the song compared to Elvis is like, if you put it in a modern context, like Elvis's version is an adult who legitimately has been spurned. The relationship has gone down the tubes. He has seen some stuff go down. Johnny Tillotson's is like a guy who's like upset that the girl hasn't responded to a text in like a half hour. Like, I mean, it's that level of, you know, just fluff.
They say a man should never cry, but when I see you passing by, my heart breaks down and cries a million tears. You broke my heart and set me free, but you forgot your memory. And it keeps right on a-hurtin'
since you go. It keeps right on a-hurtin' every minute of the day. Every hour you're away, I feel so lonely, and I can't help it. I don't think I can go home.
And so, I don't know if you went back and listened to the original for this, but I
did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was that kind of your take too?
Yeah. Overall, this song just doesn't impress me very much. Even Elvis's, like after that last great song, we take a downturn here. I mean, it's too country. Even the music has that country flavor. Of course, Elvis sounds great as usual. But where's that rough voice, that groovy voice? He kind of sings it straight. I do like the chorus.
Yeah.
It can get catchy. But I think the track makes this album feel dated. That's my only problem with it.
See, I don't feel that in this one. I think
I
think that Elvis updates this pretty substantially and gives it a
He
mature
updates
take.
it back then. But not now.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Because I'll argue with you on that on Elvis's back.
Okay.
So then the last track on side A is Hank Snow's I'm Moving On.
But someday, baby, when you've had your play, you're gonna want your daddy, but your daddy will say, keep moving on, keep rolling on. You were flying too high on one of those guys, so I'm moving on. Move on, baby.
I'm moving on to another song.
Moving on.
It's
This is
one of my
great.
favorites. I don't know. It's weird. I haven't heard the whole album like this for a while.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of country in this.
Yes.
Elvis at least makes the sound better, and the instrumentation tries to keep it current, but overall, the song and the lyrics, it's just not the best. I never heard the original before, but it's very country. I like Hank Snow's voice, so it's like one of those songs that I don't hate.
That's the thing,
but
though,
I wouldn't put it on my regular rotation.
I'm Moving On was like one of the biggest country music hits up until that point. Like it was like 21 weeks or something on the number one spot in country when it came out. Like it was a milestone of country music, and it is essentially like a hoedown dance type song. with the fiddles and the percussion on the original.
That big 8-wheeler rolling down the track means your true loving daddy ain't coming back, 'cause I'm moving on. I'll soon be gone. You are flying too high for my little old sky, so I'm moving on.
Elvis twists that, and yes, there's still some steel guitar, but he is much more taking kind of a funk soul influence. He like starts scatting over the instrumental breaks. It's almost like That's All Right's Mama's. I
like the ending. It gets more funky and upbeat.
Yeah,
I'll give it that. The ending.
I'm through with you, too bad you're blue, but I'm moving on. Move on, baby, move on.
Yeah, no, and see, I guess for me, like, I feel that vibe the whole way through. Like, to me, it kicks off and it's gone. Like, it's really Gonzville.
Have you heard Ray Charles' version? Ray Charles' version from '59.
No, I haven't.
He's a lot of R&B into it, and I think Elvis kind of took a cue from Ray there.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, as I said, I do like this album. Just 1 or 2 or 3 tracks, bring it down a notch for me.
Okay.
But the next song, wow.
Yes. Power of My Love, which has been one of your songs of the week.
The album was injected with a B12 shot or something. It was just like, we back on track here. We get great.
Yeah.
I'll break it, burn it, drag it all around, twist it, turn it, you can't tear it down, 'cause every minute, every hour you'll be shaken by the strength and mighty power of my love.
Way back on episode 4, this was your song of the week.
Exactly. So I don't know what else I can say about this. I mean, everyone knows I love this. It's raw, gritty, bluesy. So much greatness in one song. I mean, what a way to start side 2 of this record. I mean, it catches the person, like it grabs them by the neck and said, check this out. This is a song to play for non-Elvis fans who only know the hits.
Yeah.
I remember in the past I played it in my car for people who didn't know who this was, and they really got into it. They were surprised that it was Elvis.
Right. Well, and is there another song, with the exception of maybe Rubberneckin', that is as close to being explicit content-wise?
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is a very sexual song. Like with the backing vocals and Elvis making these kind of there are lines where he's like moaning and he sounds like out of breath, and he comes into phrases out of breath.
Such a night.
Maybe, but
that's very different.
But remember that on that one, he's being backed up by the Jordanaires.
Right.
This one, he's being backed up by the ladies, and they play off the lyrical content of this. And I mean, the innuendo is all there for people to listen to. I mean, it's, lick it and, burn it and twist it.
Kick it.
Yeah.
My love will hold you, yes, hold you right there. Punch it, pound it, what good does it do? There's just no stopping the way I feel for you. 'Cause every minute, every hour you'll be shaken by the strength and mighty power of my love.
This is one of the standout tracks on this album for me. This was the very first, on the whole album, this was the one that stood out to me the most. Like, I loved this track. This was shot to number 1 when I first heard it.
Yeah.
And I would keep listening to it over and over until I got people sick of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So following up after Power of My Love is John Hartford's song made popular by Glenn Campbell, Gentle on My Mind.
It's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten words and bonds. I had the heat stains that have dried up on some line. That keeps you in the back roads by the rivers of my memory. It keeps you river on my mind.
Right. Even though this leans toward country, I like how this sounds. It's really catchy.
This isn't so much country. This is folk to me.
Okay, man. Maybe it's folk. Yeah. But yeah, you can bob your head to this.
Yeah.
The Glenn Campbell version is probably more popular. But listening to that one, I seem to prefer Elvis's. I'm not saying Campbell's version is bad. In fact, Elvis seems to have borrowed quite a bit from it.
Campbell's vocal performance, and I know that the thing about Glenn Campbell is that he's capable of doing more in the style that like Elvis could do and would do more often, but he tends to fall back on kind of a very restrained vocal performance on a lot of his recordings. And that was in part because he was recording in Nashville, where that was a popular thing to do.
Right.
You know, that was how you made it in the genre of country. And Elvis, to be fair, at this point in his career, still wasn't really competing on the country charts. He was competing on the rock and roll charts.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not clinging to the rocks and ivy planted on their columns now that bind me, or something that somebody said because they thought we fit together walking.
It's just knowing that the world will not be cursed or forgiven when I walk along some railroad track and find that you're moving on the back roads by the rivers of my memory, and for hours you were just gentle on my mind.
But I love and obviously when you listen to Glenn Campbell's version, the guitar picking is far superior to what's going on Elvis's. But, I mean, the way that Elvis delivers these lyrics, which are, again, we keep going back to, like we were talking about with the songs from That's the Way It Is, you know, these more lyrically complex songs, and back-to-back with, you know, stuff like After Loving You, which is next, which is an older song. Like, they fit in well together despite having a difference of lyrical style. And he very much eases over these lyrics very smoothly, and I've always loved his vocal performance on this song. And the string, we haven't really talked too much about the overdubs either, but the strings are doing these great kind of counter melodies all throughout the album, but particularly on this one. What I like about this one too is that there's a harmonica playing, you can hear it, I think, in the left channel, and it just gives it this kind of mournful, reflective feeling.
Thinking about it, I think side 2 is more stronger.
I would agree. There's no question that side 2 is certainly stronger.
But this next song, After Loving You,
yeah,
what a great song. I mean, the roughness in Elvis's voice is spectacular. I'm not sure if it's me, maybe, but I get shades of One Night from this song.
Now after loving you, what else is there to do? For honey, all the rest is just gonna have to be second best. I know I'll go.
So I messaged you when I was doing research for this, and I was like, I have an interesting note about this song.
Right.
That I knew you were going to say that you love this song. And when you go and you listen to Eddie Arnold's version of this, I mean, this is as honky-tonk ballad as you can get.
I know I'll go through life comparing them to you. I'll be no good to anyone after loving you.
But here's the thing about this song. This is a doo-wop song masquerading as a country song.
You think maybe that's why I like it?
No, you actually like. We could play Elvis's version right here, and I could do the where after loving you, do 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 do. Like you can do that throughout the song. Like it is straight up a doo-wop song.
And your memory, you know it will remain, or it cannot be erased. The love may come along, they can't live up to you. Well, I'm no good to anyone after loving you.
I like when Elvis gets raw and gritty, and I'm totally there. It's like when he's like, I'm no good to anyone. I mean, that's perfection.
I would love to hear.
This would have been a possible song of the week for me. Might still be.
I would love to hear a version, if there's any artists out there that musicians that listen to our show, like do a cover of our After Loving You and add in some doo-wop vocals. I would love to hear that. Because I tried looking to see if like there were any like doo-wop groups that had ever covered it, but it has always been performed by country artists, pretty straightforward. And this, in Elvis's hand, just straight up becomes a doo-wop song.
Maybe the Justin Gosman 5 can do a cover. Just record yourself.
Yeah, 5 times.
Multiple times.
But then...
have you heard the original Joe Henderson version?
I haven't.
It's not that good. Elvis blows it out of the water.
I can imagine. I imagine that's pretty country.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Then we get True Love Travels on a Gravel Road.
Beautiful song. Arrangement is perfect. It's perfectly sung by Elvis. It's like a soul ballad. I mean, I wish Elvis worked with Chips Moman more, so we could have had more tracks like this.
Yeah.
In the 70s. When Elvis gets his voice gets higher, it's awesome. And of course, the chorus is excellent.
Love is a stranger and hearts are in danger on smooth streets paved with gold. Oh, true love travels on the gravel road. Oh.
Dwayne D sang the original in '68.
Yes.
Which is also good.
Yep.
I get a lot of Roy Orbison from that version. I don't know if you heard it.
I did. I listened to both Dwayne D's version and Percy Sledge's version.
If you check it out, it sounds really a lot like Roy Orbison.
How many girls choose cotton dress worlds when they could have satins and lace and stand by her man, never once letting shame touch her face? How many hearts could live through all the winters we've known and still not be cold? True love travels on a gravel road.
I can kind of hear that. And then if you listen to Percy Sledge version, his is vastly different. It's an upbeat, almost. It's not quite full funk, but it's getting there. It's still a soul ballad, but it's definitely much more upbeat than any other version.
Love is a stranger and hearts are in danger on smooth streets paved with gold. Oh, but true love travels on the gravel road.
I think this will end up being one of my songs of the week, because I love the live version that he does. I think in 1970, he did a version of it when after Back in Memphis came out. He decided to do it one night, and I adore that version of this song.
Love is a stranger and hearts are in danger on smooth streets paved with gold. Oh, true love travels on a gravel road. Mm-hmm. Yeah, true love travels on
So
Any Day Now.
Any Day Now. What's your take on Any Day Now?
Excellent.
Second to the last album, the penultimate song on the album.
Have you heard Chuck Jackson's version from '62?
Yes, I have.
Oh, I really like that.
Excellent.
But Elvis kind of makes it his own. So much heart and soul in this. You know what's weird? I get hints of 50s Elvis in this too.
Yes.
You do? Do you hear it too?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
That kind of
the violin brass section is great.
Yeah, kind of the earnestness in his voice.
I think this is underrated.
Yeah, I'm surprised. And obviously this song, with it being written by Burt Bacharach, I mean, obviously a bunch of people have covered this, but it's definitely one that Elvis's vocal has been underrated on. And probably because it's buried on the back end of this album. And yes, it was the B-side to In the Ghetto, so it's not like nobody's heard this song, but this is somewhere within the top 10 like Elvis songs for me. This falls somewhere in the top 10.
Whoa.
The bridge of the song, like I know that a lot of people love Suspicious Minds and the bridge on that song where he gets down on his knees and won't let our love survive. That's me for Any Day Now. I shouldn't want to keep you, but you know, when you don't want to stay, that resonates deep in my soul.
I know I shouldn't want to keep you if you don't want to stay here. Until you're gone forever, I'll be holding on for dear life, holding you this way, begging you to stay any day now. When the clock strikes gold, you'll come. Then my tears will flow.
But no, this is definitely an underrated song that I'm sure will also show up at some point as a song.
I'm glad we can highlight it here.
Yes, absolutely. And then the album.
Is there much to say about the next?
The album ends with In the Ghetto.
As the snow flies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto, and his mama cries.
Now, why do you think they put this in here when they released a single as well?
That's a really good question.
Because there's a lot of songs that came out of these sessions that they could have thrown in there. But they don't because they want to save them for singles. But then they put this in here.
I think.
I heard "Mama Loved the Roses" or whatever was supposed to be in there too.
And we'll get to that too, because that could have been on this track list. I think "In the Ghetto" got on here because it was 1969 and they wanted to make a statement. I really do. Like, I know that initially people had been hesitant about Elvis recording it. I know that even George Klein had been a little bit like, I don't know. Yeah. And it was really Elvis that, you know, kind of took the ball and ran with it, and Chips was very encouraging about doing it. And I think after hearing it and after finishing it, I think everyone realized how big of a statement that would be following up If I Can Dream.
People, don't you understand? Your child needs a helping. He'll grow to be an angry young man someday. Take a look at you and me. Are we too blind to see? Do we simply turn our heads and look the other way? Well, the world turns.
There's a sequel to If I Can Dream.
Yeah, I mean, really it is. And there would really be a trilogy of Elvis's kind of message songs, with the third one being Walk a Mile in My Shoes. And this one, I mean, we've talked about it many, many times before on the show, in different contexts. But this one, in the context of this album, is kind of a fitting ending, because this is not necessarily an album that is an upbeat album. It's a mature album. It's it's not by any means a party album.
I've had many parties with this album playing in the background.
By yourself.
Well, yeah, but still, it's a party.
But to end it with something meaningful goes to show that Elvis was, at least at this point in his career, wanting to make a statement of some sort. And maybe that statement was just that, like, hey, take me seriously again. But following up the NBC TV special album, which ends with If I Can Dream, with another album that ends in a message song, is very much of its time. And, you know, that cannot be understated. That Elvis made a point of putting this out there. And that's the other thing. Suspicious Minds wasn't on an LP. Like, his biggest single wasn't on an LP. You know, only after the fact when they were doing reissues of, I think back in Memphis, they threw it on there. The fact that they felt so strongly about it, they not only released it as a single, but also had it on the LP, tells you how much, you know, this meant to Elvis and meant as a recording, and how strongly they felt about it.
The content was really unique to Elvis. Singing about issues that are still happening, totally relevant today.
Yes.
I think vocally Elvis is at his most sincere. Hints of sadness, which adds to the overall theme of the song.
Yeah.
As a crowd gathers round, an angry young man face down in the street with a gun in his hand in the ghetto. And as her young man dies, on a cold and gray Chicago morning, another little baby child is born in the ghetto.
This is one of those songs that will always be associated with a mature Elvis.
This is great stuff. This is the stuff that will continue. And I wrote a little kind of mini review, and I just wanted to read some clips from it for you, and just want to get your take. No. But here's my take.
Go on.
So summarizing this album, I would say, frankly, it's hands down the best album he released in his lifetime. His debut album, by comparison, is disjointed tonally, a total hodgepodge of Sun and RCA tracks. The follow-up is much more solid, but inexplicably features Old Shep, which, while an interesting historical footnote, doesn't match the rest of the album and isn't really performed all that well. Elvis is Back is often cited as his best, and there is a strong case to be made, but I would argue it's his best 50s album. The material, while strong, polished, and tonally consistent, carries melodies and themes that are of its era. For every Like a Baby or Reconsider Baby, a gritty blues number, there's also a paint by numbers teeny bopper tune like The Girl of My Best Friend or Girl Next Door Went a Walkin'.
Ryan Drosty's cursing you right now.
That simply doesn't hold up in lyrical maturity across the generations. But from Elvis and Memphis, this is the only Elvis album that carries themes across its song selection. And not just in a gimmicky way like Elvis Country. This is an album of love and loss. There's longing, seduction, jealousy, heartache, defiant ends to relationship. I'm moving on. It's basically just an FU song. Tragic ends to lives in the ghetto and Long Black Limousine. There's an appreciation for genuine unconditional love, a nuanced back and forth introspection on letting someone go or wanting to hold on to them in any day now. Sage advice on picking yourself back up from a breakup. Advice that any of us could use at an early point in our life. That first breakup. You feel like the world's going to end. Only the strong survive. And of course, the love and loss felt by a mother whose son became the victim of the vicious circle of ghetto life. Maybe only from Elvis Presley Boulevard comes as close in thematic consistency. I'm looking at you for the heart, but that album is not as polished production-wise, or maybe over-polished, as one could argue, and not well delivered on Elvis's part. Despite the songs being older, the arrangements on the songs feel both of their time and timeless. Not a single one of them feels out of place on this album, nor do they feel dated or simplistic. A country tearjerker like I'll Hold You in My Heart has soul, and yet it's right alongside a contemporary, poetic, and lyrically complex tune like Gentle on My Mind. And just in closing, I would say From Elvis and Memphis is the culmination of what began at Sun Records. Like you were talking about, Gurdip, the earnestness in his voice that you hear in those Sun recordings would never be as prevalent again, as often, but with the vocal maturity of a man that lacked and so desperately desired that maturity as a 19-year-old. It is blues, rock, soul, ballad, pop, country, gospel, all rolled into one. It's Elvis as a listening experience condensed into a single 33 RPM vinyl shell, and it is a masterpiece.
Excellent set. Excellently said.
Is there anything in there you take issue with?
Oh, no, not at all. I think it is a powerful album. I never said it's a bad album or anything. Me personally, I would choose a different album, but this is one of my top 5 albums for sure.
Yes.
I'm just thinking, if a person asked me, give me an Elvis album to listen to, and he's never heard anything, which one I would pick? I might pick this depending on what kind of sound that person wants to hear.
Yeah.
As you said, this does have many different themes, but also when somebody wants to listen to something, in my vicinity, I'm not talking about
sure.
worldwide, but in my vicinity, country is usually lower on the list. Right. So I would pick an album that has less country than more country. And you get a good influx of country in this, and that might put people off.
Sure.
Hence, I would pick something else I'd even pick Back in Memphis over this, I think, because I really like that album too.
That's the thing. Back in Memphis is my favorite Elvis album, and I've said it as much before.
Doesn't that have it Without Love on it?
It does.
That's excellent. I'm still upset that you picked that before me, because I really you know, it keeps on hurting. That's all I gotta say.
But yeah, I do agree. I think my personal taste is that Back in Memphis is a better album, but I recognize that From Elvis in Memphis I think is better in terms of holding up over the years. I almost think Back in Memphis is too melodramatic in many ways. At least on on an album like this, you do get A Power of My Love and I'm Moving On. There's not really any happy songs on Back in Memphis at all. You don't even get the inkling of upbeat. And that definitely plays into how, why I would rate this higher than Back in Memphis objectively. Because you do at least get some fun and enjoyment. Well, and even Wearing That Love Down Look, it's when you listen to the lyrics of it, it's not a very happy song. The guy's clearly suspicious of a cheating spouse or whatever, but at least it's an upbeat song. You could dance to that song. There's not really a song on Back in There's not really a song on Back in Memphis that's really all that enjoyable in that way.
I guess as a listening experience, it's great though.
No. You will never have me argue against that because it is my favorite. Back in Memphis is my favorite Elvis album. But for me, I would say this is his best. I would make the argument that it's better than better than Elvis's Back. But
it's weird. The 2 Back albums are my favorite.
Yeah,
Elvis's Back in Memphis. And I even like his second album. If it didn't have Old Shep, that'd be way up there for me.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Well, and also from Elvis Presley Boulevard in '76, you have all these heartbreaker type songs. Another thematically consistent album. Like I said, For the Heart is just inexplicably there. No place there.
We need to review that album too.
It's true, and there will be other albums. We need to do Today as well. Because that's one that...
Not today, but today.
Not today, but today, the album. Yes.
Cool. Do we have anything else left?
Did you have any other closing thoughts on From Elvis in Memphis?
50 years.
50 years. A long time. Peaked number 13 on the Billboard 200, number 2 on the country charts, number 1 in the UK.
Wow. Cool. I hope people enjoyed. Tell us what you guys think of this album, and if you were around back then, do you remember buying it off the shelf?
Yes. What was your take back then? And has it held up over the years?
Yes. How has it held up? Do you still pull it out? Do you still consider it awesome? What were your thoughts back then as opposed to now? All that good stuff.
Absolutely. So, all right. Shall we move on over to Song of the Week?
Let's do it.
Let's make it like the first chorus all the way through.
Since my baby left me, will I find a new place to dwell? Well, this guy got a gal that I love so.
We can go on together with suspicious minds. I'm all shook up.
Well, that's different. That's a pop song now, little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. So remember how you had talked about how you would like to do Without Love, There's Nothing?
Yeah.
One day, well, I'm opening up the floodgates to you might be able to go back and redo it because my song is a song that we've already featured as Song of the Week on an episode that you weren't on. Back way early on, episode 12, the Searcher First Impressions episode, my friend Ryan Brewer came on and... he wanted to talk about a song that he liked, that he was familiar with, so I threw him a bone, and we talked about a little song, but I really wanted to go back and dig more into it, because especially in the context of this episode, there's a lot to dig into. Suspicious Minds is my song of the week.
Why can't you see what you're doing to me when you don't believe a word I say? We can go on together with suspicious minds, and we can build our dreams on suspicious minds.
Oh, you went for it, huh?
I did. I went for it. We were just having a conversation about how none of us ever go for the big hits because there's always so much baggage with those big hits. Like, because you could almost go down this rabbit hole of like all the covers that have been done and all the remixes and all of the this and
Don't
that.
tell me you went through all the covers.
Not all of them. Oh God, no.
Oh, I can't even remember the first time I heard this song. I would have probably, thinking back, I would have heard it on, not even Elvis's version. I would have heard it on that TV film, the John Carpenter, Kurt Russell Elvis film.
Yes.
That's probably my earliest memory of this song because that was like early 80s. And before I got into really, I mean, I had the 45s. This was not one of those. And that's probably the first time I heard it. And then I actually bought the tape and, got familiar with Elvis's. And I was surprised by how slow it is compared to how I pictured it. Anyway, I'm totally talking over your song.
No, that's fine. That's what we
Go
want.
for it.
So Suspicious Minds, written by Mark James. Mark James, who would go on to write a number of songs for Elvis, including one of your all-time favorites, Raised on Rock.
Oh, sweet.
As well as Always on My Mind, Moody Blue, and It's Only Love. But the first song of his that he recorded, that Elvis recorded of Mark James's was Suspicious Minds. Mark had actually put it out before Elvis did, and actually had recorded it with Chip Smallman at American Sound, with probably some of the same players. Because when you actually go back and listen to the original version that came out on Scepter Records, it is almost identical.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. But why can't you see?
But it went nowhere.
It went absolutely nowhere. And the song, for those of you who may not know, is about a couple who don't trust each other. They have a dysfunctional relationship, and they need to figure out how to either work through it or end it. Because
they're caught in a trap.
They're caught in a trap. And the relationship can't go forward with them having suspicious minds.
Right.
So the original by Mark James, I actually have the 45 of this. I picked it up at a record store. Just happened to be there. It was like $3 or $4, I think. And so I'm very proud to own a copy of the original of this. But then Elvis's version was recorded at American Sound, January 23rd, 1969, overnight session from roughly 4 a.m. to 7 a.m., so way early in the morning. And the first place that I had heard this song, I think, was probably on the... I would have to guess it was on the Artist of the Century box set, but I don't know if that's true, because I think there was a...
Wouldn't you have heard it in a movie?
Maybe?
Lilo and Stitch?
No. I saw Lilo and Stitch well after that.
Okay.
I came into the Artist of the Century box set around 2000, 2001, and Lilo and Stitch hadn't come out until 2002. I had already been well familiar with Suspicious Minds by that point. But fell in love with it. It's a fantastic song. Continued to be in love with this song. The outtakes are all available on the Back in Memphis FTD. How many of these have you heard? Have you heard them all?
I mean, not recently, but I have heard them.
Okay.
I have that FTD.
Well, just real quick run through. Take one is a false start. He gets to the second verse and says, CC F.U. Ryder.
Right.
So if an old friend I know stops by to say hello, would I still see CC fuck you, Ryder?
As we all say.
Yes. Take two was a false start as well. Doesn't really go anywhere. Take three, there's a bit of a rehearsal and a false start, but they start it they start it slower in tempo than they usually would, so they stop it when they realize that they didn't quite nail the tempo.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out.
Take four gets partway through. Elvis jumps in a little bit too early on the first chorus, and they keep going. But then by the time he gets to the "Would I still see suspicion in your eyes," he comes in way too early on that, and that leads to the track, that take breaking down.
Would I still see suspicion? God damn it.
And take five, it starts to gel a little bit. There's still some hesitation, but once again he gets hung up on the "Would I still see suspicion in your eyes?" So much so that he goes over that section a few times just to make sure he gets the timing on that right.
Stops by to say hello. Would I still... Yeah, right. Stops by to say hello. Would I still see suspicion in your eyes?
Oh, yeah. How many dB is?
Take six. There's a couple different false starts. He finally nails that "Would I see suspicion in your eyes?" Makes it to the bridge and hits that just a little too early, but he rolls through it, and then it gets all the way through, and then it just sort of ends abruptly. It's like, okay, we got a complete take. That's a good starting place. Take seven is a full take. It's got this very full-throated opening with Elvis maybe over-singing it a bit to start with.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby.
By the end of it, it's pretty close to where it's going to be on the master, and at the very tail end of it, you hear some session chatter where Chips asks if Elvis has only one more in him.
Y'all got one more in you?
Yeah.
Take eight, which is the master, the undubbed version, opens up with Elvis saying "woo," and then Elvis is making a whole bunch of like karate type noises, getting himself pumped up.
Woo!
road.
Let's save that last one, Chips.
Okay. I'm saving the last take for me.
Brent?
And it ends up being the master. It is pristine. It is eloquently performed. Elvis's vocal is smooth, but it has that coarseness that still remains from his cold. He's been in recovery for a few days, but he's still a little raspy, and what that gives is that soul edge that this song so desperately needed. You can definitely hear that the musicians are on the ball. They essentially know at this point, this is it. This is a hit. We have got something special here. And everyone else knew that too. In fact, everyone at RCA knew that it was a hit. And Freddie Beanstalk, the publisher that basically handled Elvis's publishing deals, wanted Elvis to get part of the publishing on Suspicious Minds, and because Chips Moman owned the publishing for Mark James's composition, and Chip said, absolutely no way.
F you guys.
Not happening. I know how big of a hit this is going to be. You guys can, move along. And so what ended up happening was that basically everything came to a standstill. Like Elvis went away for a while. He went on a brief vacation.
Ski trip or something.
Yeah, he went on a ski trip. And Tom Diskin from RCA backed up Freddie Beanstalk. And Chips held his ground. And finally, Harry Jenkins from RCA came down and was just like, you know what? Fine. Chips, you're getting it. You're getting the full publishing. And this was essentially, this song was the beginning of the true conflict between RCA and Chips, and specifically Felton Jarvis and Chips Moman as producer. They didn't want to give Chips credit for producing the song, and essentially what ended up happening was that Felton Jarvis took the track and went through and overdubbed it with a brass section and strings. And so just to timeline this real quick, just to back up a hair, there were some overdubs done pretty quickly after the master recording was made, where Elvis did like a harmony vocal, which you can hear throughout the song. And in fact, on the 30 number one hits DVD audio, they isolated one section that they had found that's kind of an Easter egg. It's been buried in the mix for years, and they isolated it out in 2001. We talked about this on the show before, but have you heard that little snippet?
I probably have, yeah.
Where Elvis, when it's during the bridge, and Elvis to himself on the harmony track says, "Sing the song, man, sing the song."
Won't let our love survive. Sing the song, man, sing. Or dry the tears from your eyes. Let's don't let a good thing die.
Very cool little Easter egg that had been hiding on this master for years and years and years and years. So the backup vocals were overdubbed as well pretty quickly after that. And then Elvis went to Vegas and performed the song in Vegas in July. And as all the stuff was going on between Chips and RCA, and Elvis had come back and done some more recordings, things had been, handled. This gets into where we were talking about Mama Like the Roses possibly being on from Elvis in Memphis. Could have been on there, but Johnny Christopher had written that song, and Chips Moman also owned the publishing on that song. And basically they told Chips, okay, if you aren't willing to give up your publishing, then Mama Like the Roses is not going on from Elvis in Memphis. And so that's why that song didn't end up on that album. And so as the summer goes along, Elvis performs it in Vegas, makes this huge big thing out of it, and you can actually hear on the album from Vegas to Memphis, Memphis to Vegas, at the Live at the International Hotel, a version of this that runs about 7 minutes long. What do you think of this like mega long version of it?
It gets tiring after a bit. Same with That's the Way It Is, the live version there. It keeps going and going.
It's like the Energizer Bunny.
Don't you know, caught in a trap, I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. Caught in a trap, I can't walk out because I love you too much.
I know.
But he's clearly
he slows it down. Slows it down, brings it up, slows it down.
Right, and it becomes this dynamic thing where he just keeps going. And I like the idea of like, we're caught in a trap, we can't walk out. Like the song is caught in the trap and can't walk out. I like the artistic sentiment behind that. That's fine. Yeah. And in a live context, that's fine. However, it's like the longest recording that Elvis has released. But inspired by that, Felton Jarvis decides that, okay, well, let's do that on the studio master, on the single. Loops the ending of it and does that famous fade out where it tricks out, where you think it's going to be the end of the song, and then it fades back in. Interestingly enough, there were actually two separate brass section overdubs for the two different masters for mono and stereo that Felton was basically in charge of. And the reason why he did that was because all of the multi-tracks had been like taken up like for each of the instruments and stuff. And so they did a mix down of the stereo version, and then they did a mix down of the mono version, and then overdubbed each of those with their own brass section. Very weird, very bizarre. There's been a lot of fans over the years trying to figure out why the two didn't sound the same. Well, they eventually figured out that it's just straight up two different recordings in terms of the brass section. But what's your take on the fade out and fade in on the master? Do you like it?
Oh, it's
do you
great.
Not like
yeah,
it?
I do like it. I always like these fade outs. A few songs are like that. I think the Isley Brothers Shout is like that as well.
Yes.
Where you think it finished and then it comes back.
That's one thing. When I was taking a note on the International Hotel version, I actually said it very much reminds me of the Isley Brothers song Shout, where it just goes, a little bit softer now, a little bit softer now, a little bit louder now, a little bit louder now. Like, that's what Elvis is doing in this song, which it works better, obviously, on the live versions where that's specifically what Elvis is doing, and you can hear him playing around with the band.
What do you think of the speed? The studio version is very different than the way he would perform it live.
Yeah,
much faster.
The studio version is very slow by comparison. Throughout the rest of his career, he did it faster. I like the 69 versions the best because they're closest in tempo to the original. Even though they're still pretty far away from that. But you at least get distinct instrumentation. Elvis is forced to deliver a pretty solid vocal performance.
Oh, let our love survive. Oh, no. Oh, dry the tears from your eyes. Let's don't let a good thing die. Oh, no. 'Cause, honey, you know I'll never lie to you.
However, by the time he gets to Madison Square Garden in 1972, it is picked up so fast that it's not even really enjoyable. Like he's not even putting in a good vocal performance. Like he's singing it almost like in his nose, rather than singing from like kind of his gut where he does on the master.
Suspicious mind. We're caught in a trap. I can't walk on because I love you too much, babe. Well, why can't you see what you're doing to me?
if you don't believe a word I'm saying.
But in spite of that, the Madison Square Garden and Aloha from Hawaii versions in 72 and 73 do actually have their own kind of nice groove. I loved Ronnie Tutt just going nuts on those drums.
For sure.
And obviously the That's the Way It Is version, people are very familiar with that. It's very popular online, the video of it. That's the one where he jokes about shove it up your nose and I hope the suit don't tear up, baby. What was your take on the live versions? That's the Way It Is, Madison Square Garden, Aloha, any of them?
I always remember my sister was like, when's the song going to end?
Right?
I'm like, it's good. Listen to it. It's great.
Yeah.
This is always one of my favorite songs. Weirdly, my daughter had to do her ballet recital to this 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this in the car like nonstop because she always wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of those songs that's always going to be associated with Elvis, no matter who else covers it.
Yes.
You're going to probably get into the covers.
Yes.
But this is a great song. This is a song that if people, when they think of Elvis, they think something, it's an older style of music. When they listen to this you can still play.
It holds up.
It holds
extremely
up the contemporary music. So it's one that people can get into still.
Yes.
And they'll be like, wow, this is good. This is kind of groovy.
Totally.
I can dig it. So, and I dig it.
Yes,
I can dig it the most.
So the Master came out as a single. It went number 1 in the U.S. and Canada, number 2 in the U.K., number 4 on the U.S. Adult Contemporary charts. It reached platinum, sold over 1 million copies on its own. It's been included on countless compilations over the years.
Is this his last number 1?
This was his last U.S. number 1. It was released in August and reached number 1 in November 1969. And interestingly, was recorded during the concert that would become the album Elvis recorded live on stage in Memphis in 1974. Was not included on the album, interestingly enough. Did appear on the FTD version of that album. So I don't know why they did that. Just in case no one's heard this yet, I've talked about it twice on the show before, and I'll just brief sidetrack. There's an Easter egg on the Roy Hamilton song Hang Ups that was recorded at the same time as the 1969 sessions that Elvis was doing. He was basically recording during the day. Elvis was recording at night. And the musicians and Chips decided to throw in a little Easter egg in Roy Hamilton's recording of Hang Ups towards the end of the song. Roy stops singing for a moment, and it comes in with this little guitar riff.
I'm feeling it too. I'm hung up, hung up, hung up, hung up over you. Everybody getting tired of living, but afraid of dying.
And I love hearing that. It's just a neat little kind of tilt of the hat, a nod to each other. Obviously, Elvis gave Roy his song Angelica, or the song that he was going to record as well. So I think this was kind of paying back that. It's been reworked a couple times over the years. Viva Elvis appeared. It was almost like an 80s rock style in that.
But here we go again, asking where I've been. You can't see the tears are real, I'm crying. We can't go on together with suspicious minds, and we can build our dreams on suspicious.
And then on The Wonder of You with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, essentially identical to the Master with a slightly different and more elaborate string and horn section and no false fade, which was kind of interesting.
Just don't let a good thing die. When, honey, you know I have never lied to you. Yes, we're caught in a trap.
And then cover-wise, we've talked before about Dwight Yoakam and his version from 1992 in the Honeymoon in Vegas soundtrack.
Right.
You actually do like that one. You said at the time, even though he's very country.
He's very country. I like the backing more than his vocals.
Yeah, that very heavy guitar and the drums.
Yeah.
And
We can't go on together with suspicious minds. We cannot build our dream on suspicious minds.
The Fine Young Cannibals did a version in 1985.
I remember this.
Yeah.
I was listening to, I was watching Much Music, or, the equivalent of MTV here, and they would always have it on. And I'd be annoyed that it's not Elvis, but then I'd be like, well, at least it's Suspicious Minds. So.
Yeah, and it's done at a faster tempo, and it's almost taken like a dance track.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't believe what I say, we can go on together with suspicious minds. And we can build our dreams on suspicious minds.
I don't mind this when it comes on. If I happen to hear it on the radio when I'm at like a gas station or something, I don't mind it. Waylon Jennings and Jesse Coulter did a version in 1970 as a duet. Basically went nowhere until it was re-released 6 years later in 1976 and became a top 5 country hit and was in fact even nominated for a Grammy. And their version is... It's okay. I like the concept. Jesse Coulter to me is just not a super great vocalist, so I'm not as keen on that. But I like the idea of doing Suspicious Minds as a duet. Like, it kind of makes sense when you actually think about it. Although it can obviously play equally as well being done solo.
We can't go on together with suspicious minds. We can't build our dreams on suspicious minds. I saw an old friend I know. I stopped to say hello, but I could still see suspicion.
Bruno Mars has actually stated that his favorite Elvis song was not just Suspicious Minds, but specifically the bridge of the song where Elvis goes into the Won't Let Our Love Survive. So Bruno Mars, who had at one point in his life been a little Elvis impersonator, has stated this is one of his favorite songs. Remains one of my all-time favorite Elvis songs. What
is it in that top 10 that you were talking about? Oh, maybe not.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
that fade out.
I would like to hear that top 10 one day.
I don't know if that fade out does it for me.
Okay.
So some people have speculated that might have been influenced by Hey Jude. Do you think that that's the case at all?
I mean, Felton did it, right? So
yeah.
You never know what he's thinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all know what Felton was thinking all the time. He was
How Elvis
obsessed
is such
with
a
Elvis.
great guy.
Yeah. But anyway, so Suspicious Minds is my song of the week.
Wow, excellent song.
Oh, and just I don't know if I'll include a whole lot of this in here because I probably shouldn't, but I have heard some of the multi-track stuff of this song, and it is amazing to hear some of the elements broken down individually, the bass line, the drums, the strings, because some of it you just don't notice when you're hearing the master and you've heard it so many times, and it's just nice to be able to go back through and appreciate those individual elements as well.
With suspicious minds, and we can build our dreams on suspicious minds.
Cool. Excellent. But you went there. You picked one of the big hits.
I did. I hope I did it justice.
A good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Awesome. Okay, well, my song of the week is from the 50s. It's Mean Woman Blues from 1957.
I got a woman, mean as she can be. I got a woman, mean as she can be. Sometimes I think she's almost mean at me. A black cat up, died of fright, 'cause she crossed his path last night. I got a woman, mean as she can be. Sometimes I think she's almost mean at me.
Written by Claude Demetrius. We talked about Demetrius in the past. He wrote some of my favorite Elvis songs, including I Was the One, Santa Bring My Baby Back to Me, and Hard-Headed Woman. Two of those were my songs of the week. So it was recorded on Sunday, January 13th, 1957 at Radio Recorder Studio 1 in Hollywood, California. What a song. This is truly rock and roll with a blues-style foundation. To me, this is like a perfect 50s Elvis. Just fun. The lyrics are a little suggestive, but very groovy. And when it's sung by Elvis, it's like on another level. The breaks with the clapping is also great, although I don't know about that background when they're like, yeah, man, go cat. But otherwise...
That dates it a bit.
Yeah, that does. Otherwise, it's perfect. The song goes hand in hand with the performance in the film of Loving You. It's a classic, Elvis in the diner, singing, dancing in the jukebox, and then fighting at the end. It's a shame RCA didn't release it as a single for some reason, only on the EP and LP. What do you think about this song, and when did you first hear it?
Oh, boy.
That's Buddy Holly.
I don't... Yes, that's true. When you're with me, oh, boy. I don't remember the first time I heard this. I imagine it was on a compilation.
Right.
It might have been a compilation of movie songs, to be honest. I don't remember. I do remember that it struck me as a fun song, but it wasn't... Whatever context it was, it didn't stick out to me in comparison with some of his other 50s rock hits like Too Much, Jailhouse Rock, the iconic ones. Later on, I grew to appreciate it more as I understood its context in Loving You. Right. I learned to appreciate it in that scene in the film because that is a really fun scene. But yeah, I like it. You won't ever hear an argument from me on that. It's not one that I necessarily go out of my way, but when it comes on, I'm like, sweet.
And then you start swinging and dancing just like Elvis in the movie, right?
Yeah.
So they did 14 takes, with 14 being the master. None of the outtakes are available. Now, this was the record version. On Monday, January 21st, they went back and recorded a movie version on the Paramount soundstage. So this one is called the alt intro ending. You can hear the engineer do the countdown, and Elvis goes into it. It sounds a little different. Elvis seems more loose with it, but you can tell it's on a soundstage with a lot of echo. As I said, it sounds a little different, but still fine. You can hear this version on the Loving You FTD. They did 7 of these, and 7 is considered the master.
I got a woman, mean as she can be. I got a woman, mean as she can be. Sometimes I think she's almost mean at me. A black cat up, died of fright, because she crossed it flat like that. I got a woman, mean as she can be.
So for the film version, it's a composite of the alt intro ending version that I just talked about and a binaural transfer of the record version. Binaural is a method of recording sound with 2 mics arranged to create a 3D type sound. And it overdub with girls screaming, which they also recorded, which would have been fun to see or hear. Just girls screaming, and they're just recording them so they can insert it in.
Kiss so hard, she blew my lips. Hurt so good, my heart just slipped. I got a woman, mean as she can be. Sometimes I think she's almost mean
That's a lot of work to get a film version of the song. I think that, like, why couldn't they just use the studio version that they originally did? I don't know.
Part of that was, I think, honestly, they wanted to make sure that it fit the context of the scene. They were still trying at this point in the movies to make the scenes and the songs fit.
It seemed like it, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like they were.
But he is playing it on a jukebox.
Genuinely yeah, we haven't even talked about that, but that's a whole thing.
So you could check out this film version on the This Is Elvis soundtrack, Essential Elvis Volume 1, and of course you can hear it on the film itself. As I said, it was released on the Loving You album in July of 1957, and also the Loving You EP Volume 2 in August of 57. Why this couldn't be the B-side to Teddy Bear, I don't know. They probably wanted to get the title track on that single.
Yeah.
But they even released Party as a single with Got a Lot of Living to Do. I mean, come on. Party instead of Mean Woman Blues? Like, I don't get that logic.
Yeah, Party's not... Well, but then again, it was the 1950s, so,
Yeah, I guess everybody wanted to party, right?
Some people like to rock, some people like to roll.
Move it and groove it won't satisfy. So this song has been recorded so many times. I'll just highlight a few. First up is The Killer, Jerry Lee Lewis, November of 1957. As you would expect, heavy on the piano, but it still rocks. The lyrics are changed up quite a bit, but it in spots like she's got ruby lips, shapely hips. Boy, she makes Jerry Lee flip.
Well, she's got ruby lips, shapely hips. Boy, she makes old Jerry flip. I got a woman I mean as she can be. Well, sometimes I think she's almost mean as me. Yeah.
Now, I'm guessing those were little ad-libs by Jerry himself. These might have been done to separate from Elvis's version, but, who knows? We'll get a few piano breaks as well. Mm-hmm. When an artist changes up the lyrics like that, are they considered partial songwriter or no?
No, typically not.
No. Okay. Interesting.
You would think that they would be, but no.
Yeah. Next up is Cliff Richard from November of 1959. Strange thing listening to this is how much it sounds like surf rock would sound in the 60s. Mm-hmm. I thought Dick Dale was on guitar for a second. This is more like pop rock than what Elvis was doing. Still very good, and I'd recommend it.
I got a woman mean as she can be. I got a woman mean as she can be. Well, sometimes I think she's almost mean to me. A black cat up, died of fright, because she crossed his path last night.
Now we get Roy Orbison's version from August of 63. Roy actually took this song to number 5 on the Hot 100. I like this version. He made it his own. Again, we have the changed up lyrics similar to Jerry Lee Lewis's voice. Roy's voice carries the song.
Well, I ain't bragging, it's understood. Everything I do, well, I sure do it good. Yeah, I got a woman, mean as she can be. Sometimes I think it's almost believe.
And the guitar break is awesome. The ending is also great where Roy keeps repeating, I got a woman, louder and louder. Have you heard Roy's version?
I have, actually.
Yeah, it's really good. And lastly,
they
What?
featured Roy Orbison's version as downloadable content in Rock Band 2, I think, or 3. One of those.
You used to play that?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, you got to remember the Rock Band came out when I was like in high school.
Oh.
So it was all the rage.
So you were rocking away.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, go on.
Elvis is tying that in real quick with Suspicious Minds. That actually is where the multi-tracks for Suspicious Minds have come from, that have surfaced out there. Is people have extracted the individual tracks from Rock Band, and Suspicious Minds was in Rock Band 4.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Was there a Elvis specific rock band?
No, there was a Beatles one though.
Oh, okay. Huh. That would have been good.
It would have. They dropped the ball.
Did you play the guitar, or did you do the drums, or what?
A little bit of all of them.
Yeah, I never got into that.
Yeah, that was good.
Anyway, lastly, we have Scotty Moore's instrumental version from The Guitar That Changed the World from 1964. This is really cool to hear. Similar guitar licks from Scotty, like the original, but we go more like updated version, less bluesy, more lighthearted. Mm-hmm. And we also get the Jordanaires singing a few verses and saying stuff like, "Go, Scotty," as opposed to "Go, Cat, go, man."
We talked about that album back on episode 26, where we talked about Bill and Scotty's kind of solo careers in the 60s.
Do you just have this stuff on the go, or do you look it up?
I always have this pulled up here just in case we need to refer to it.
Awesome. Anyway, that's my song of the week.
Very cool. Great pick, dude.
Thank you. Thank you. Always look to me to pull from the 50s.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So, yeah, that's hopefully everyone found the information today enlightening. I definitely enjoyed going back and revisiting from Elvis in Memphis. Tell you what, doing this play, I was able to spend a lot of time, like, even though I didn't have a lot of time that I wasn't doing something, there was still time for me to have music playing while I was doing it, and so I would keep listening to this album over and over, and it was just really nice to be able to refamiliarize myself with this material and then get to review it for the show, because I still think, like, even though it's generally recognized as one of Elvis's better albums, I still think it gets outweighed by some of his earlier stuff.
Like Blue Hawaii even outweighs it.
Right, and GI Blues, and the ones that sold better. I really think people should go back and revisit it all the way through this year on its 50th anniversary. So, if they want to find us, where can they find us, Gurdip?
They can find us at TCBcast, at Libsyn.com, Spotify, iTunes,
YouTube,
else?
Twitter.
YouTube now, yes. And how can they contact us on Twitter?
We're at TCBcast. We're on Facebook, and just search TCBcast, and shoot us an email at tcbcast@gmail.com.
Give us feedback. We like to hear from everybody.
Yeah, I love hearing feedback.
Gives us something to talk about.
For sure. As we're coming up on almost 2 hours. No, we have plenty to talk about, but we're always happy to hear feedback. Let us know how we're doing. What else you want to hear us cover? Because I think we've obviously got a long list of. We still got movies we want to tackle. We've got obviously Elvis's whole discography to pull from. But if there's something that someone's like, there's an anniversary of this coming up that we haven't thought about, that's always good to know.
Yeah, we don't know everything.
Yeah.
So remind us. Anyway, well, it's been great. It's a hot time in Florida.
It's a rainy night in Georgia.
You've been listening to the TCBcast, an unofficial Elvis fan podcast. Justin Gosman and Gurdip Ladar have left the building.
Someone must have stomped on his head with those blue suede shoes.
Thank you and good night.